everyone. In just a second, I'm going to be introducing Jeanne Blasberg, and she wrote a book called Eden, and it came out last year, last May. I don't know how I found it. I wish I could remember. I think somebody recommended it to me, and I finally got around to reading it, and then I asked her to come on here, and she said yes, and guys, this book is so good. So good. One of those family saga books, which I love. I love a good family saga. And they pretty much put this under like women's fiction, but that's okay. We don't care because that's probably who will read this book. But you know what the weird thing is I'm going to tell her, is I went on Amazon reviews and saw that men are reading this book. So, they can call it women's fiction, whatever. Men are reading it. Everybody's reading it. Everyone here is Jeanne. Hi, everyone. I am so excited because I get to speak with author Jeanne McWilliams Blasberg. I wanted to make sure I got that right. And we're going to be talking about her debut novel, Eden. And she's going to show us the cover of that, which I am seeing because I had it on WhisperSync, which I don't know if you've ever used WhisperSync, but it is God's gift to listening to books and reading books. And look at that. That is amazing. I love that you had the video on your website too.
Yeah, I loved making that video. I'm glad you went to my website and saw it.
Yeah. Well, I love a good website. Not everybody's doing websites as much anymore. And you even have a blog that you keep up with, which I was like so happy because you don't really see people blogging anymore either.
Well, I like to, I wrote Eden and I'm working on another novel. So I love to dive deep into this fictional world I'm creating. But I also really like writing first-person narratives and discussing kind of some of the issues in my life. And maybe some of my blogs are as lighthearted as travel and kind of fun things. And others are a little deeper with, missing people who have passed or holidays and what they mean to me and things like that.
I think it's really cool for your audience to get to know you that way too, like all your fans. And I'm sure do you have like an email that goes out to update people when the blog comes out?
Yeah, I have a newsletter that I send out a couple of times a year, maybe a little more often around book events, but maybe quarterly, and you can sign up for that on my website as well. It's a newsletter. And I try to always offer something fun, whether it's a recipe or an idea or a Spotify playlist or something like that.
Well, I can't believe this was your debut novel. That's why I was like, when I went back on Amazon, because I read it and then I go back onto Amazon because I don't like to read too much about it before I read it. And I was like, wait, and I kept looking, and then I went to your website. I'm like, this is her debut novel. This is crazy because it was so good. I love family saga novels.
You're so sweet. You're so sweet. I probably could have written 5 books in the time it took me to write Eden. It took a really long time. It went through a lot of edits. I really went to school on Eden. So I really appreciate your praise, and I'm glad it came away looking experienced and nuanced. I mean, you get credit for living a long life and kind of being a more mature writer too.
Yeah. Well, and I love that. Okay. So I don't know if you heard this before, but I said, the book is named Eden, right? And then I started paying attention to the women's names in this book because it's all about women and generational women. And it's Rebecca, but we know the main character is Becca. And we got Sarah and Rachel. And I was like, did you do that on purpose? Did you do the Old Testament names on purpose? Maybe it was me. Maybe I just picked up on that, but.
Oh, I totally did it on purpose. It was a way of giving a nod to the fact that our struggles and our mother-daughter issues have gone on since the beginning of time, since the beginning of written stories about families. And some of the first ones in our civilization are from the Old Testament. So definitely, it was just this feeling that what we struggle with, our daughters and granddaughters will probably struggle with as well, but just in a different guise with different circumstances.
Yeah, I do. I love mother-daughter books because my mom passed away in 2011. And the struggle. She was only 17 years older than me, so there's so much in this book. She got pregnant in high school, had me, and we grew up kind of like sisters because we were so close in age, and we fought like sisters. And and then I was afraid. I had two boys, and I was like, I don't know if I want a girl or not. And then I did want a girl, but then I was afraid because I was like, what if I have the same struggle with her that I had with my mom? And I don't know if we always think that way as women, but it really was like it was something I really thought about a lot.
Michelle, we have a lot in common. So in my book, there's that character who knows her. She figured out that her mother was pregnant with her before the wedding, and that was actually me. I was that little girl too. So my mom got pregnant with me and had to get married, and I was raised her only daughter, and we were very close. And there weren't those typical boundaries that mothers and daughters should really have when you're born in that kind of a situation. And I have two boys, and then my youngest is a girl, and I was very comfortable with the boys. It was new territory.
Yes.
But when I had that girl, I was like, this is my chance for a do-over. And one of the things I'm most proud of in my life is the relationship I have with my daughter. I loved my mother, and we had, such a close relationship. But like you said, you can fight in a way that's not, you wished it hadn't happened that way. And with my daughter, I feel like we're really close, but we also have like the right boundaries and the right set of, like, I don't know. It's just better, and it makes me happy to know that I could learn from what happened to me and do it a little bit better. And I think my mother passed away in 2004, and so I often think she's looking down at us and smiling and happy that we're doing it in the way we're doing it now.
Yeah, I thought the same thing. I think that I learned what boundaries looked like, or I at least tried to create boundaries. My daughter is going to be 27, and then she had two little boys, and now she's having her own little girl, which she's scared to. And I was telling you, I was at the ultrasound this morning, and it just kind of occurred to me that it was like my granddaughter from my daughter, but I know she's scared, but because she knows too, like, even though her and we are extremely close. We talk every day. She helps me with my business. I mean, we're very, very close, but I do know like when her husband's around, like my mom had no boundaries. She didn't care what I was doing. It was like, if she called, I had to drop everything.
Yeah.
But like, I know when her family time is, I let her alone, I let her have family time, and I try to do business when her husband isn't around, and I try not to mother her children. My mom wanted to mother my children instead of being grandma. She wanted to be their second mother, and they did not appreciate that all the time. But, it used to be funny too, because she died okay, so we were just getting into cell phones before she died. And she would call my cell phone, right? And I would ignore it. I'd be like, I'm busy. I'm making dinner. Not picking that up. And then she'd call my oldest son. And then she'd call and I'd be like, don't pick up the phone. Because she would try to go through all my children to get to me. She was very, very, so I did. So I think that's really awesome the way you said that, because it's like, I never thought about it that way, but I kind of learned boundaries by seeing what no boundaries looked like. So,
yeah.
But this book, okay, so we have all these, and I was trying to go through like generational, because our moms have passed away. There isn't that other generation, like you try to think about that. So it's two generations. I knew my grandmother, and Sarah, so there's Becca, the main character, her granddaughter, Sarah, who's now pregnant. And it's all kind of, everybody's pregnant in this book. I love it. So I actually had a better relationship with my dad's mom than my mom. I don't want to say better, different, but closer. Like close relationship. And did that go for you like that too?
Well, my maternal grandmother passed away when I was a toddler.
Mm-hmm.
I think I would have been close with her. I hear so many stories about her fun side and her spark. And then my father's mother lived until she was 96, and she passed away 3 years ago. Oh, actually 4 years ago. She would have been 100. Wow. This year. But she was one of my best friends. Yeah.
So, because I can see this in that now I get it. It's so much more evident in the book. It's so cool. But
Yeah.
I love Becca. I mean, I loved her story. It was so good. At first I was thinking that it was Sadie's story for a little, but because we went back and forth, and you did that so amazing. I mean, the time hopping and
Nice.
everything. Like, I just love that. And like I said, I love the fact that you attached it to their having children and then them having, and then, like going through all of these pregnancies. And, so I liked it. I loved it. So much fun. And I have a quote. Okay. I always try to pick like quotes, and I had a couple of them, but I think this one kind of summed it up a little bit for me. It said, because I'll tell you that, but she says, Becca could become accustomed to life without her husband. A life without Eden was an entirely different story. And, and I never had an Eden, like I never had a house. We moved a lot, and then I moved a lot as an older person too. But I almost could relate to that, because I was thinking if I had ever just found a place, I bet that's how I would have been too. I love
Well,
it.
also, Becca's husband in the end wasn't the
Yes.
most admirable person. I mean, she ended up with him, and she did what her mother wanted, and she had a life and children with him. But I think she was kind of settling in the end and doing what society, what fit in well with society. So yeah, life without Dan was took some getting used to, but it wasn't a life-ending thing for her.
Yeah.
Losing Eden would have been, yeah.
Right. Now, did you give birth by midwife?
I didn't. I was more of the stainless steel and doctors swarming everywhere. Um, but I have friends who did, and I had my children. I was pretty young. I just kind of did what my doctor told me to do. Um, but I offer that midwifery experience in there as kind of an alternate, and that natural, more kind of feminine, goddess. I don't know. It's just I felt like the female experience needed to be rounded out by
Mm-hmm.
um, the alternative that women have for giving babies versus kind of the accepted um, hospital way of doing it.
Well,
So,
I gave birth to I have I have six children, by the way. I had the first three, and then I had three more, and whatever. Anyway, my fifth child, it was like in style. Like everybody was going to midwives, and I was like, okay, I'll go to a midwife, because I never took anesthesia anyway. So I was like, whatever. Well, he got stuck, and
oh,
so the sixth child, I was like, I'm back in the hospital. Because it was all very traumatic, and they had like five midwives there, and it was not a good situation. I survived it, but whatever. It was like I felt much better with my sixth child back in the hospital.
back
but
in the hospital.
but you
Oh,
know what,
sorry.
but my great grandmother was a midwife, and she birthed all of her grandchildren.
Wow. Now there's a book in that one.
Yeah, and now that I am a grandmother, there's not even a chance. Like,
Yeah. Talk about boundaries, right?
talk about boundaries and talk about like trying to think clearly. Like, there's just no way. And now I'm like looking at that woman who I didn't know because she was my great grandmother, and I'm like, wow, she must have been one tough cookie to be able to do that, because there's no way. I'd be scared to death. There's just no way. But anyway,
No.
that's how they did it. You know what? That's what they did back then,
I mean, if you were in a remote location, that would make sense too. Or, I
Yeah,
don't
they
know.
weren't. But I do think, I mean, that was back in the 1930s and 40s. So, I mean, I don't know. I just know my grandmother would tell me how our mom was yelling at her while she was giving birth. It's pretty funny. It's like, no, no, thank you.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So anyway, so another cool thing is you published this book through She Writes Press, and I had interviewed Brooke Warner a couple of
Oh,
maybe like 6 or 7 months ago. Ah, she is amazing. I
I'm
loved
so,
her.
yeah, I'm so excited to be a part of She Writes Press and to be like hooked my wagon onto Brooke Warner a little bit. I think she's a pioneer in the industry. I think she's inspirational, and she's a powerhouse. The amount of work she she does on a daily basis. So it's a great press. And I've gotten to be close friends with many of the other authors. We call ourselves sisters and
Oh,
we support each other. I was just at an event last night of one of my She Writes Press sisters. She's from Burlington, Vermont, but she was down here outside Boston doing a talk. And I was just so proud. I mean, it's a really talented group. I think in all, we have the fact in common that we might be a little bit more on the mature side, and we're all trying things that might be a little bit out of the box. Like my book is got all these women and different points of view and goes back and forth in time. So many people told me that's way too complicated for a debut novel. But just hearing your enthusiasm and how you got it, I want to take this video, and it's so vindicating or validating to be able to say, yeah, the 30-year-olds who are in charge of the publishing industry were telling me I couldn't do it, but I've really gotten a great readership, and I think all of the She Writes Press authors really have a sense of the art and exactly what they want to create, and we're kind of done with people telling us it's not going to sell, because that's not really I did it because it was burning inside of me and I needed to write this and I wanted to find readers who would relate to it. And I am, and that's success.
yeah, I loved when I interviewed her. She just kind of like radiated and like her vision for what she was creating. And I had never heard of it before. And I don't even know how I found her, to tell you the truth. Somebody hooked me up with her. And when I was interviewing her, I was like, wow, now she is going to change the industry. Like, she was just so determined. She knew exactly what she wanted to do. And I was so impressed. And, and now I'm finding like authors like you. And there was another author recently, and no, my mind is not. As I'm talking to, I'm like, oh yeah, there's another one, but I can't think of it right at the moment.
Yeah.
But
Well,
because there are
I
so many of you.
yeah, maybe so every spring and every fall there's a catalog of somewhere between 30 and 40 books. Maybe over half of them are memoir. The others are fiction, and then maybe like spiritual or self-help. But um, there's a lot of people who can't get their memoirs published if they aren't celebrities. So there's so many great stories out there, and she's a true believer that everybody who wants their story, with the editorial standards, obviously, you want your stories deserve to be told and shared, and the gatekeepers shouldn't necessarily um, ruin your dreams. Like the traditional gatekeepers aren't necessarily the gatekeepers today.
Absolutely.
The other thing I wanted to say is I have another book coming out in the spring of 2019, and I'm going with She Writes Press again. Even though I've had great success with Eden and I could probably explore other channels, I really am proud of what Brooke is doing, and I'm so excited to continue to be part of it.
Yeah, and you're so inspiring to me. Like, here I am, I'm 53, and like last year I started thinking, like, what am I going to do? I raise children. Like, what do you, I gave up my career to raise children, and then you look back and you're like, I don't even know how to do that anymore. That was my 20s and early 30s. And, so when I find authors that like you that are like my age, and then you're like, you know what, I'm going to start writing. And I had thought about it, and then I was like, you know what, I just like talk. I'm not a good writer. I like talking to authors more. I like reading their books and talking to them and getting them out there, so that everybody can see them. But, you just kind of think you get to this age, and there's so many women authors now that are writing later in life, and that's why you can come out with a debut novel and have it be so good, because, you do have the experience, and, we learned some stuff.
Yeah. I think being in my 50s compensates for maybe the fact that I didn't get an MFA. I have this, you have this emotional or this emotional IQ or just this wealth of experience where you can recognize a lot of things. And someone told me, like, the ability to write what other people recognize, but kind of in a revelatory way, is just such art. And that's what I'm kind of aspiring to. It's like sharing a lot of experiences that I've had, I think other women or other mothers have had, but in a way that's got my own little spin on it, and it's a little bit revelatory. So I'm trying. That keeps me going.
Yeah, and the stuff and the books that they're putting out at She Writes, I mean, they look just as good as like a Simon and Schuster. Like you can't tell that cover you have, and what everybody looks for when they're looking for books. I mean, that's what her professionalism is. Just I love that. I love that about her. She knew what she
Yeah,
was doing. She really did.
they really do the packaging well.
Yeah.
They really have great authors too, and great work that they're choosing. So yeah, I think it's a great group, and we're all really supportive of each other.
I
We
love
connect
that.
on a secret Facebook page, and we're
Oh,
always like giving each other ideas of bookstores or websites, or different ways we've had success and how other people might try the same ideas.
yeah, because
So
it's changing, especially like with we were talking about social media before. It's changing so fast. Like I can't if I wanted to keep up with that, I would have to spend my day keeping up with that. Like
yeah, the,
it's like,
the thing that's great is that yes, there's a certain number of people in the world who choose what they're going to read based on the New York Times book review. But like you said, there's a lot of people out there who choose what they're going to read based on influencers who they see on Instagram or Facebook, or whose blogs they follow. And it's very democratizing. So it creates this opportunity for people like me to get out and find readers. And I'm I'm grateful for social media, but I also do need someone to help me keep up with it too. So
yes.
you can kind of be a slave to it, and then on the other hand, you're like, if it wasn't for social media, I probably wouldn't have half my readers.
That's right. And like I said, I'm pretty sure, I have reviewers all over that they give me books because if I were to just go by the New York Times, I couldn't get those authors. There's no way. They're
Yeah,
just not. They don't have time. But I am so happy that I get to talk to authors like I'm way more happy to talk to authors like you guys and to be a part of that community. And I love my book reviewers, and they are changing the world of reading. They really are, because they really care about those authors that have great books like yours, and they're like, we're just going to keep promoting and promoting, and so we are very blessed. I feel like when they tell me stuff, I'm like, I'm a part of them. I love that. I love that they let me in on their little goods. But tell us quick before we go, I want to hear about the Nine. Is there anything you can tell us about it?
sure. It's a little different than Eden. It's not a historical novel, and it doesn't have generations of a family, and it has just a very small family: a mother, a father, and their only son. The way it's similar to Eden is that it deals with what society kind of tells us to do. And for better or worse, a lot of people follow that path when in their heart they know it might not be the right thing to do, but they do the right thing even though it's not the right thing to do. So this mother is just heavily invested in her son. It also raises issues of kind of modern day helicopter parenting, and she's really overly invested, and she feels like she's hit won the lottery when he gets into this very exclusive, very prestigious and rigorous boarding school. When he leaves the family, however, and goes to this school, he becomes involved in a kind of an underground, unseemly world there, and it's kind of the unraveling of the family. So the mother's first person point of view is very strong, but at the same time you have kind of these twists and turns going on at the school, and this boy in a secret society and all the craziness that's kind of being uncovered. I like to think of it, it's a little bit of a cross between your classic campus novel, like a separate piece, with this crazy strong mother voice that's a little bit
Yes.
like a Gone Girl. So
Yes.
that's a crazy combination. Um, but I don't know. I think it's a little bit of a commentary on our current parenting, where we're pushing our kids and there's a lot of pressure, and then they just are going to do what they're going to do anyway. And then it's also a allegory, just like Eden was, from the Bible. There's a story of Hannah and Samuel, and Hannah is the mother, my contemporary Hannah and Samuel. So where Hannah in the Bible prayed and prayed for a son that she would then turn over to the priest. My Hannah prays and prays for a child who she then sends to this institution, which is kind of the academy, which is, I'd say, a contemporary with or like the proxy for this temple. But anyway, once he gets there, it doesn't really go well. Anyway, it does end with a hopeful note. I don't want to give it away,
Yeah,
but
don't give spoilers.
yeah.
But hook me. You know where to find me. Okay, you want some
I
early
do.
readers? I will read it, and we can talk about it and put it out there. For when the release date is, and I'd be happy to do that.
Yeah, I'll send you an advanced reader copy. I'd love to have
Awesome.
you on, get you on board early next time.
Yes, absolutely. But I am so happy I found you. I am so happy that this book is still alive. People are still talking about it, and
Yeah.
that's really good news.
Yeah, the more good news is that I just recently sold the German and French rights to Eden, so it's being translated into 2 languages, and those international releases will be next spring.
Oh, that's
So
awesome.
yeah, it's kind of going worldwide.
That's awesome. Well, show us the cover one more time. I'm going to have all of Jeanne's links underneath here and the link to get the book on Amazon. That's awesome. I love the cover. I love it so much. And go on her. I will have her website. Go on her website. She has an amazing website.
Oh yeah, and there's that book trailer.
That's right.
The video.
That's right. Go look at the book trailer. So anyway, Thank you so much, Jeanne. It was so much fun to talk to you. And I'm not
we
going to
have
say
a lot in common. We should have coffee sometime.
we should. If I ever get to, I'm down here in Pennsylvania. If you ever come down, if I ever get up there, but we'll stay in touch. I'm not going to say goodbye.
Okay.
Talk to you later.
Bye.
For watching, everyone. Jeanne and I, it took a while. We had Skype issues and everything, but it finally worked, and I'm so happy. I'm so happy I got to read her book, and I can't wait for the next one. All of her links will be listed right underneath here. Thank you.